from having quite a lot of grey hair, I guess my career background has been, I've been MD of McCann, a big advertising agency, so used to kind of stepping into the boardroom to talk to board as an kind of an external advisor. I then went to be Chief Strategy Officer for Rupert Murdoch. If you want to ask me any questions about succession, you can, but not on the mic. And then I moved into the world of fintech, so I was at Habito for 6 years, mortgage fintech, and now I'm at 5,000 doing investments. So I sat down and I thought quite long and hard about what I've really learned about being in the boardroom. Like seven things for you, and then hopefully we've got time for some questions if there's anything you want to ask me. Because of my talk today, and I have got some notes, I have to wait till after this is terrible. The first thing I learned about stepping into the boardroom, I was taught this by someone called Katie Van Exmith, who was CMO when I was working for Murdoch at Newscore and is now Chief Exec of Hearst. She's actually made the next move of a CMO into becoming a CEO. She told me to own my numbers, love my numbers, and love them to the decimal point. You don't have 160,000 customers or 30,000 customers, you have 39,457. The minute you own that number and know that number better than anyone else, you gain credibility because you're seen as being meticulous to detail. And that's one of the things that marketers don't necessarily have the best reputation at. And this came to life for me in two really clear ways. I used to work when I was in McCann on the L'Oreal advertising account. The CMO, I won't give her name, she was terrifying. Think a little bit Devil Wears Prada. And she used to carry this fearsome file which had every single one of her competitors' marketing campaigns written on a piece of paper in a ring binder. And she would often just stop me and say, how many ratings did this Procter & Gamble product spend on TV last week? And if I didn't know, she would think I was an idiot. So I used to revise. I used to sit late at night the day before a meeting with her and revise my numbers. So that I did know my numbers, so that she always knew that I was on top of her business. And Rupert Murdoch used to do the same thing to me. He used to be in a meeting with him, he'd be flicking through the Times or the Sun, and he'd pick one ad, and he'd point to it, and he'd go, what did they pay there? My Rupert Murdoch impression. And you'd be like, oh, well, they pay, you couldn't say around about £10,000. You had to say £9,753, and you had to be right, because he would email the finance director either in the meeting or after the meeting and say the ad would pay 7, how much did that cost? And he would remember if you were wrong. So it sounds ridiculous, it is like being back at school. Revise your numbers. And if you're not a CMO yet, and you want to be a CMO, if you know your numbers better than anyone else on your team, the CMO is going to want you sitting next to them in their meeting. So it gives you a huge advantage in terms of being the kind of right-hand person that someone's going to give a turn to. The other thing that I really learned, and that by the nature of our job, we're all brilliant at, is always tell a story in the boardroom. Never just stand behind a spreadsheet. Never let your CFO present the numbers. That is a big rule. But tell a story, tell a narrative, and exactly the way that you would construct a successful marketing campaign. You're effectively marketing your marketing when you step into the boardroom. So think about the narrative and you're bringing into it. I don't know if any of you were at MadFest this morning, but very brilliant. Rory Sutherland said this in his interview with John Evans, who does an amazing podcast. He said, if you demand everything that you do as a business makes sense in advance, then you are massively limiting the solutions ahead. And that is no truer than the marketing department, because everything that we're going to try and do is to innovate. And if you're constantly looking at the past to try and predict the future, we know where that goes, right? That's going to go horribly, horribly wrong. So what we have to do is tell that story, use numbers, use behavioural science, use all the same techniques you would use to build a marketing campaign to get the board behind you in the boardroom. And it takes practice and it takes research, and you can't wing it. You're going to have to put a lot of effort into a boardroom presentation. And the other thing, and I guess this is the thing I'm most passionate about, is don't ever let marketing become science. It's not a science. If we're constantly sitting behind performance marketing numbers, We are doing ourselves, our department, the future of marketing, we're doing a huge disservice. Why do I say this? I say this because there's a really brilliant piece of research done by a business called ThinkBox, right? It doesn't matter if you advertise on TV or not. They're super interesting in all things to do with marketing effectiveness. And they hired a business called Accelero, and they work with Paul Dyson to look at, I think I wrote the numbers down, there's 28,000 global campaigns and 7,000 UK campaigns are what the determinants of marketing success are. And the determinant they used was, is the marketing delivering a profitable return? So not generic return on investment, but a profitable return on investment. And they found two overwhelming factors in that success. One is brand size. Now that's a horror show for most of us, right? As Fintech Marketers trying to grow a business. We don't have that on our side. The second most important thing was the creative messaging. I don't mean the TV campaign. I don't mean, that you need to do a big brand piece of work. I mean how differentiated and interesting is your messaging. And that has a factor of 12 on how likely your marketing is to be profitable. So if we don't present that in the boardroom, then we are turning marketing into a number. And I've had this before where someone says, here's £100,000, how many customers am I going to get out of that? And the answer has to be, well, if we do this, excellent, but if we do this, if we do Y, maybe it's another number. And it started to put some behavioural science, some articulation behind the power of messaging rather than just the power of money. Again, when I was working for Rupert at News, when not only was he kind of tapping me, to tell him what that ad was worth, he would often just ask me what my run rate was. What's your run rate? How much money are you making? How much money are you making me? And the business that I was in for Rupert as part of the CSO was to be the content production team. So if any advertising needed ads made or any partnerships made, that will come out of my team. And frankly, when I joined, the work we did was awful. It was some of the crappiest work I've ever seen in my life. So my job was to turn that around. What they didn't want me to do was turn it around, and what they wanted me to do was make more money. So every time they said to me, what's your run rate? I would say, look at this campaign. Isn't this amazing work? So that they could suddenly realise that there was a distinct connection between doing really great work and making lots of money, and that we had to care first about really great work and then about really great money. And that's a super true lesson for any boardroom. And we're lucky with marketing, right? We've got tons of things at our disposal. Previous marketing effectiveness awards. There's tons of case studies out there. We've got neuroscience, all of, eye tracking. We can tell a story about why something is going to work before we know that it's going to work. And I would highly advise you to do that. The other thing which I learned really at Habito probably, is the importance of reading the room. And again, as marketers, what we do, right? We're used to sitting in focus groups, we're used to talking through customers, how they're going through product journeys, and a board meeting is no different. So read the room. Are people interested? Are they not interested? Are they following you? Have you checked? Do you know what their agenda is? Do you understand that you might have to do a 25-minute presentation in like 1 minute? When I worked for Rupert, he was always wildly distracted by things, and he'd always have the TV on in the background. And you'd be doing a presentation, you'd been sweating on it for hours, you'd rehearsed it 15 times, and he'd be like, is there a senator on TV ever? He'd be like, I've got no clue who that senator is. I'm messaging my team underneath the table, which is please turn on channel 301, who is the senator on screen. You've got to be ready for your presentation to be entirely derailed and chill about it, not plough on. In fact, we did a really good thing at Habito, which we used to read the room in the boardroom. So you could write, anyone in the company, I used to do it a lot, write a paper, people would read it in advance, and then you'd sit around and discuss it. So before you came in and presented kind of a big, kind of radical idea, you got a sense of kind of temperature change, to see where people are, understood what kind of questions they were giving. It was really helpful exercise. Right, how am I doing on time? Good. 3 more. bring the outside in. Now, the very brilliant Nicola Anderson, who's CMO at my tutor, told me this, and she put it in a really nice way. She's not just director of marketing, you're kind of director of the market. We are the people who are most likely to be out talking to customers, observing trends, commenting to things like that, whereas the most of our businesses can be sat in that kind of little kind of micro bubble of we're the most important, the circa 5,000 investments are the most important thing in the world. So don't be afraid to come into meetings with an outside point of view, a case study, trends that are going on in the market, different viewpoints. It can be incredibly helpful in the world of innovation and really when the people most likely to do it. I guess, certainly as fintechs, right, we live and die by data. So my other piece of advice was like, see data as a point of innovation and be proud of it. One of the most powerful things I did at Habito, although it was quite difficult for me for a while when our numbers didn't move, so I installed a big screen like that with all the marketing OKRs behind me, so that everyone could see exactly how things were going. And trust me, for about 3 months they didn't move, and everyone thought I was an idiot and I should be fired. But like, as soon as you go into something with that kind of level of transparency, people know that they can trust you. You're going to give them a straight answer. You're not going to be afraid. There's a really great book. I really should be on commission for Annie G. There's a really great book called Thinking in Bets by Annie G. She's a professional poker player, and she talks a lot about like business and how you take risks in business. One of the things she talks about is how our fear of failure so outweighs our enjoyment of success. And I think when you recognise that, it's an incredibly powerful thing, and then you can look at data through that lens of understanding your own bias, that you more want not to fail than you do want to wildly succeed. And it's one of the things that we look at a lot at Circle, which is how do you use AI in an interesting way? If AI, by its very nature, is average, how do you look to the data to then look for the outliers? To go from, well, this is what the machine says, to what does the machine not say? And as I said, we use lots of different things. We use things like neuroscience. So when you go to the board and you say, well, we've tested the, I don't know, because if you've ever seen my old campaigns, they were pretty wild. Like a lot of people ask me, my God, how did you get the board to buy that? And we do things like literally put caps on people's heads, measure their brain power, and say, well, we've turned the decibel level of when they yell Habito down by like 3 percentage points. And that's actually going to increase the level of interest they have when we say the brand name by X%, which is going to increase ROI by that. And they're like, okay, we didn't realise that's how you can do things. I think the more you can step into that world, eye tracking is a really cost-effective way of doing that. So exactly as you were doing product marketing, do that with any marketing campaigns that you're creating as well, so people know exactly what you've got. And the final one, and this is again from Kate Frederickson, it's super useful for me, is this is amazing. What you've got to remember is everyone is an expert at their job and marketing. And we all know that's true, right? We've got a view of what we're doing here and what we're doing there, and embrace it. Embrace it because it is incredibly exciting that people are interested in what you're doing. We do have a slightly more glamorous job than necessarily someone deep in data science, so let people in. When I've created campaigns before, I present the board every single step of the way. I've had my VP of engineering pick the soundtrack for our ads. Habito used to actually pick people from the company to be the stars of our ads because they're animated. So when people kind of give you their marketing ideas, of course you can ignore them, and you probably should ignore them, but welcome them and welcome their interest because it's incredibly powerful. That's it, that's all said.
Amazing. Thank you. That was really good. Sorry. We have about 3 minutes for Q&A. Does anyone have a question?
Hello. Thank you for the talk. I wanted to ask in terms of the not relying too much on science. How do you marry science with, for lack of a better word, magic, let's say, or like human interactivity or contact? And what are your daily practices to remain in that balance?
I mean, it's a good question. As I said, there are techniques of neuroscience and biohacking where you can start to see how people are engaging and why people are engaging. But I guess, there's always the story. There's always the story to be told. So, the story at Habito, just how we sold our ads in, is that people hate getting a mortgage. Every single other ad is about happy horses and happy homes and, bullshit that doesn't really exist in the world. Fact, truth, human inside truth, is horrific getting a mortgage. And so what we did was like, well, let's play the truth. Went to go and talk to some customers, verbatim, they said, you're completely mad, but if you do it properly. And so that's what we did. We had people drowning in their own sweat and being eaten by piranhas. And people lent into that because they were like, finally, someone's being honest. So I think as long as you can root something inside, you've got a magical story to tell, and people will follow you.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Abba. As a general observation, I think a lot of startups won't have a marketer involved in the very early days of the company. So what are your observations on joining a company when it's only just starting to scale marketing and the co-founders might have 2-3 years already under the belt and you're the newcomer in the room?
I mean, I guess I did that job at Habito. I think it's hard, but you've got to kind of go into it with your eyes open. I think someone described to me, often founders think that their first CMO is not just a unicorn, but they've got like a rainbow-coloured horn. So I think you have to kind of go into it realistically and think super hard about how your founders are going to work with you, because they're just going to see you as an engine of growth and they're going to take money away from you, and you're not going to be in the board of your table. They don't work that way. So I think you've got to kind of go into it, as I said, read the room, thinking about what kind of marketing department they're going to want you to build and whether you want to do that.
Thank you so much, Al. That was really, really amazing. Thank you so much. Together.